day to all of you. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you on this 18th day of May 2022. It's a Wednesday midweek, and we continue bringing you information and personalities to educate us on important topics. Today, we will be featuring three individuals, all who have something to contribute to the discussion regarding the recent wage hike in NCR, or the National Capital Region, and Visayas. Okay, I hope I'm correct on that, but we will clarify that with one of our guests. Today, we will be speaking with the Executive Director of the National Wages and Productivity Commission, Maria Criselda Sy, Ms. Chris. We will then speak with Professor Butch Lanzona, a labor economist and someone who will give us insight onto the potential impact of this wage hike. And of course, we bring in a representative of the labor sector, none other than a regular on the program, spokesperson of the ALU-TUCP, Alan Tanjusay. So abangan niyo po lahat yan. We will feature all of them today, and you will get insight into the workings of our wage increases. Now, let's move on with the Daily Starter. Our Daily Starter, medyo pilosopo po, pero may saysay, okay? Let the Lord fight your battles. He hasn't lost one yet, okay? Marami sa inyo may pinaglalaban. You are fighting for something, working on something, facing challenges, and sometimes we do it all on our own. But we are always reminded by God, be still and know that I am God. Let the Lord fight your battles. Parang wala pa akong nababasang gerang pinasok ng Diyos na natalo siya. Okay, si Putin malapit nang matalo, pero si Lord hindi matatalo. Okay, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star, a quick scan of the news. And the front page of today's Philippine Star edition, local transmission confirmed by DOH. Okay, let's be clear about that. When the Genome Center and the DOH started testing recent cases of COVID-19, they determined that there is now in the Philippines the Omicron subvariant BA 2.12.1 in Metro Manila, Puerto Princesa City in Palawan, and somewhere in Western Visayas. Now, clarification, I believe it's in Iloilo, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Iloilo City. Now, let's be clear. When the DOH said local transmission, it means that they have detected cases, local cases, okay? It is not community transmission, meaning hawa-hawahan na, or it is spreading. No, it is not community transmission, only local transmission. At the top of the front page, Marcos family in Australia for a short vacation. Meanwhile, the government, the DOH, is ready to administer the second booster shot as proposed by the Health Technology Assessment Council, or HTAC. However, the government is still waiting for a written requirement from the World Health, or written recommendation of the World Health Organization. Bongbong Marcos, or BBM, has offered two positions, namely Secretary of Labor and Secretary for Migrant Workers, to two persons, namely Bienvenido Benny Laguesma, former DOLE Secretary, and Undersecretary Susan Toots Ople, who are now both in the private sector. That big photo that you see in the middle of the Philippine Star, those are photos of Rublen Amit after winning a gold medal in the women's 9-ball singles competition, while the two in the bottom part are Islay Erica Bomogao and Richen Yosores, who clinched the gold in the Muay Thai competition. And then, of course, the guy who's been collecting medals, gold medals, is Eric Ray, who claimed his 5th gold medal in the Southeast Asian Games. Okay, since 2013, after dominating the men's 400-meter hurdles. Nabubulol na ako sa dami ng ginto. Okay. Red carpet to be rolled out for the Magic 12 senators who won or topped the elections. And that lower photo, the ongoing tabulation at the PICC. And last but not the least, COMELEC on early VP inaugural, no problem. Baka raw mauna si Sara Duterte mag-hold ng inaugural event after winning VP. Okay. Let's now go to our discussions. I will check. Okay, there we go. We're all ready. Let's bring in the Executive Director of the National Wages and Productivity Commission, kasi nagkakainitan na po ng pag-usapan regarding the recent 33 pesos wage hike in Metro Manila. Okay, so Ms. Cris C, Executive Director of NWPC, good morning po.
Good morning po, Mr. Cito Beltran, sa inyo pong mga taga-subaybay.
Okay, bago natin pag-usapan yung 33 peso wage hike na nagkakainitan na yata ngayon ng usapan, may we understand or could you educate us regarding the purpose and function of the NWPC? Kasi most people keep hearing about regional tripartite wages and productivity board para doon sa iba-ibang region. Pero recently, biglang lumabas yung opisina ninyo na mas mataas pala kayo, mas powerful pa pala kayo sa regional wage boards.
Okay, salamat sa tanong, Sir Cito. Ang National Wages and Productivity Commission, together with the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Boards, were created under RA 6727, or the Wage Rationalization Act, and it was in 1989. The main mandate of the Commission and the boards, dalawa po yun. The first one is to set the minimum wage at the regional level. So kung matatandaan ho ninyo, before the RA 6727, national minimum wage po yung siniset. But because of the creation of the commission and the boards, naging regional na po yung setting of the minimum wage. The second function or mandate of the commission and the board is the advocacy on productivity. The intention is to strengthen the nexus between wages and productivity. So those are the two main mandates of the commission and the board. And through the years, base sa aming experience, yung ating minimum wage rates being issued by the regional boards, nagkaroon ho ng pagkakataon, I suppose it was in the middle of 90s, na sobrang dami na ho ng regional minimum wage. No? Kasi ho, apart from being regionalized, meron din pong mandate yung mga boards to set it on a sectoral level, on a provincial level, etc. So pupunta po tayo dun sa point na naging halos 200 plus yung ating wage rates, na very difficult na po for the Department of Labor to do the tinatawag natin na ano po na pag-i-inspect sa mga establishments, masyado nang mahirap. So in I suppose it was in 2013 that the board and the commission started to implement what we call the two-tiered wage system. We adopted that. The first tier, the intention of the policy at the first tier is to clarify the policy space for minimum wages as the floor wage. And the intention is to make it a little over the poverty threshold para naman mas maganda kasi kung nagtatrabaho ka na, 'di ba? So dapat mas mataas sa poverty threshold yung income ng ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung nasa vulnerable sector. But the intention is to set it a little over the poverty threshold, but it should not exceed the average wage that exists in the market, because the intention of the second tier is really to provide that space for bipartite negotiation. Yun po yung ating ano. And this early, I'd like to just emphasize that the minimum wage policy is not the main policy to improve the income of our workers. It is just a support policy, a support mechanism to a bigger employment generation policies of our government and even bigger labor market concerns. The focus of our minimum wage is really to protect, as I said earlier, to protect the vulnerable workers from undue low wages. So yun lang po muna, sir.
Okay, kumbaga you're setting a standard or a level na no one is allowed to pay lower than this because this is robbing the worker of fair wages. But on the other hand, your focus is not just about minimum wage, but rather on making sure that there are programs, policies that also benefit workers beyond just the money. Hindi pera-pera lang, as they said. Now, why is there, ito medyo hindi ko alam kung paano ko ito tatanong kasi the regional boards declared, okay, for Metro Manila and Visayas there has to be an increase, but then I read in an interview I was done with you in the Philippine Star, you said that you will be reviewing these decisions and in 10 days you can either make it final or it can be revised. Tama po ba yun? Does the National Wages and Productivity Commission have that power? And what would be the basis to decide the outcome?
Thank you for the question. Yun pong function ng commission to review. It's not really to revise, but really to review the wage orders. Number one, to make sure that the wage order conforms with the intent of the law. So kung wala ho dapat error in terms of the implementation of the law. So that's number one. And number two is, sumunod ba ito doon sa omnibus rules that the commission has crafted to ensure that the wage order is true to its form and its content.
Okay, now Executive Director, tanong ko lang kasi people have been arguing and I've been trying to pursue the subject matter that yes, we have minimum wages, but they are no longer on par with inflation. And kung pagko-compare, if we compare minimum wage versus actual living wage, there is such a disparity. Some people say that the wages now should be $750, whereas the board said it was supposed to be like $850, ano ba ito, $570, etc. How does the commission arrive at the science of determining what is the right? Is just yun lang bang it should not be lower than minimum poverty level?
Medyo mahaba-habang discussion po yan.
Yung short version na lang, ma'am.
Yung short version po niyan ay ganito po. Number one, if you will look at the nature of minimum wage, it's really an emotional and a very sensitive issue. It's also primarily a political issue, but ang sinasabi natin, to make it an effective policy instrument, there must be a science behind it. So sa aaral po ng ating mga regional boards kung ano ba talaga sa tingin nila as a body would essentially balance the interest of our stakeholders, lalo na competing naman po yung interest nila. We follow because in the law there are 10 criteria in the determination of minimum wage. And I can just summarize it into 3. The first is the needs of workers, to satisfy the needs of workers and their families. At totoo naman po yung sinasabi na kung titignan nyo, hindi sapat yung 570, sabihin na natin, kung titignan natin yung lahat-lahat ng pangangailangan ng ating pamilya. At depende rin naman yan dun sa size ng family. Meron din namang family na sapat din sa kanila yung 570. At merong family na dahil mas mataas yung kanilang, alam niyo, statute, hindi sapat sa kanila. The second criteria is the capacity of our employers to pay. So kahit po sabihin natin, for example, ibigay natin ng 750 yung minimum wage, pero yung capacity naman ng employers to pay is not at par with that requirement of our workers. Magsasacrifice po marami hong mga policies yung masasacrifice, like halimbawa yung sinasabi natin na concern natin to encourage the formalization of our establishments. Kasi kung hindi ho nila kakayaning makasunod doon sa po na yon, ay maaaring mag-violate ho sila. So in that case, ini-encourage natin yung kanilang informalization.
Yeah.
At yung pangatlo hong yung pangatlong consideration natin is it in line with our economic development plans? Tulad po ngayon, we are still not yet out of the pandemic, and we know, and this is really the reason why I'm saying that we can see now yung limitation ng minimum wage as a policy. Kasi yung sector that is supposed to carry the burden was also affected by the calamity. Hindi naman po gobyerno yung magbabayad nito. So every time that the board makes a decision, it's really a balancing act between among all these 3 major considerations.
Okay, Executive Director, I will not fault you or I will not put the burden on you kasi syempre you are within the confines of your position and your office. Pero matanong ko lang, you set the minimum wage, or the regional boards and the NWPC, but at the end of the day, isn't it all about feeding the horse? Ika nga sa Tagalog, aanhin ng damo kung patay na yung kabayo. And the argument here is we need to pay our workers the fair wage. And kasi parang ang contrast natin dito, you have government controlling wages, and then you have businesses saying we can't afford it, it's going to be hard. But then at the end of the year, they start giving annual stock reports, or they expand their businesses, they put up more branches, etc. Do we have a study? Meron bang ginagawang study ang government to determine what is the reality and who's telling the truth? Because parang my position lang is we have to take the politics and all of this political correctness from here, feed the workers first.
Yun pong concern natin about yung sinabi nyo kanina that the government controls the wages. Hindi po ganun yun. Kasi nakalagay po sa batas, at ito rin po yung nasa labor code, na yung primary mode of setting better terms and conditions at work is through collective agreement. And that is the bipartite mechanism. So yung control ng government pagdating po sa wages, tulad po ng sinabi ko kanina, it's it is only to protect the vulnerable worker. Kaya nakafocus po tayo sa minimum wage earner. So
Okay.
kung paano po mapapataas yung income ng ating mga workers, as I said earlier, kailangan hong mapalakas yung ating collective negotiation or collective agreement at the firm level. Kailangang malakas yung organization po ng mga employer at sila po yung kailangan gumagawa nun at the firm level. Para kasi every time that the government intervenes, masyadong malaki ho yung at stake dito kasi tinatamaan yung ating macroeconomic indicators or goals or outcomes. Kaya very careful po tayo pagdating doon.
But you're referring, Chris, you're referring primarily to formal settings, di ba? Yung mga corporations, companies. Kasi may nagtatanong nga dito, yung bang 33 peso increase na yan, yung wage hike ba, kasama ba dyan yung mga katulong daw, mga kasambahay?
Meron po tayong another wage order for the kasambahay. Iba pong wage order yung ini-issue natin doon.
Okay, kasi may mga naalarma, sabi nila. Nako po, pagka ganito, pauwiin ko na sa Visayas yung aming yaya at hindi na namin kaya. Anyway, so at the end of the day, it's a protection, it's a kumbaga the line.
Kaya po floor wage, sir, kaya po siya tinatawag na floor wage na in which no one should fall. Kasi protection lang siya. Ang nangyayari kasi ganito, kung sakaling itataas natin yung minimum wage above the average wage, when I say above the average wage, the prevailing wage in the market, the tendency is that, yung sinabi ko kanina na hindi kakayanin siya ng mga employers.
Yeah.
So kung mapipilitan yung mga employers na magtanggal ng mga workers, ang uunahin syempre nila ay yung mga hindi nila napapakinabangan, yung mga unskilled. They will retain the skill. So kapag ganun po yung nangyari, at ganun ang naging track ng minimum wage, hindi natin mabibigyan ng protection yung supposedly segment of our labor force that should be protected by the law.
Yeah, but I think
I'm saying it's really a matter of balancing all this.
Yeah, I think more than anything, Executive Director, and I'll have to end it at this. I think at the end of the day, we've made it clear. The National Wages Productivity Commission, the regional tripartite boards, sila ang trabaho nila, their primary role are as gatekeepers, meaning salaries, payments should not go beyond this minimum floor value para naman wag maape, wag mawalangya. Kasi nangyayari, people have this impression, I personally had the impression that you guys are the ones determining how much salaries should be, etc. Yung pala, gatekeepers na kayo. Kumbaga, you're actually part of our team defending laborers. Hindi kayo kalaban, hindi kayo yung mga, kumbaga, nasa kabilang partido.
If I may, we want the competitive market to prevail. We just provide the floor wage or the protection, but let the competitive atmosphere in the labor market prevail.
Kumbaga,
and that is why it is important to strengthen yung bipartite mechanism at the shop floor.
Okay, kumbaga WPC protektahang taka, bahala na si Batman kung gusto mo pa ng mas marami dyan. Thank you very much, Executive Director Chris C. Have a good day, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's Executive Director Criselda Sy of the National Wages and Productivity Commission. I think, that's important. We establish that point that it's a floor value that no one should go lower to take care of our workers. Now, we will go to continue with this discussion with an economics professor who has a specialty, I believe, in labor concerns, and the TUCP spokesperson when we return after the break. Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH on channels 8 and 250, and to those of you who watch us on Facebook and on YouTube, maraming salamat po. Thank you very much for making the effort, and we do hope that in one way or another we contribute to your awareness, to your knowledge, and to your decision making. Today we are tackling the recent wage hike, 33 pesos in Metro Manila, and I believe that in the Visayas, I have to check that number there in the Visayas, but we are now going to tackle the matter after speaking with the Executive Director of the National Wages and Productivity Commission. Let's now go to our next guest. First, we have with us Alan Tanjusay, spokesperson of the Associated Labor Unions and Trade Union Congress of the Philippines. And joining him, we have a professor of economics at Ateneo de Manila, Professor and Dr. Butch Lanzona. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cito.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Doc Butcher. Thank you, Doc Lanzona. And then, Alan, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, well, we'll go with Professor Lanzona first. Doc Butch, you've heard my short talk with the Executive Director, and you've also been interviewed by media regarding this recent wage hike. You seem to focus on its inflationary effect and long-term job losses. Could you elaborate on that, Professor?
Yeah, well, basically, I agree with the executive director of NWPC that the government needs to intervene kasi there may be certain firms that have some kind of market power and therefore could offer wages lower than the market wage. So certainly we need to have some kind of, as you mentioned, gatekeeper. But I also agree with your point, no? That maybe the kinds of policies that we have is not enough. The kinds of programs that we have are not enough to provide the worker a decent living. You see, the problem really is the fact that the labor market is very heterogeneous, no? Masyadong malaki yan, maraming mga sektor, maraming klase ng mga workers, maraming mga iba-ibang klaseng trabaho. Ang parang ang concern ko is actually the MSMEs. Kasi as you know, we're just coming out of the pandemic. And a lot of these people are just, they're just sort of surviving. They probably had to, incur a lot of debt just to survive, no? And if you're going to set a minimum wage of 33 pesos per day, that would be around 1,000 per month, no? So in the process, whatever savings that they may have may eventually be wiped out as a result of this minimum wage. If you will look at the data, no, when we were starting to relax the restrictions because of the pandemic, there was only around a 2% increase in employment. No? And most of that, kasi actually mataas yung underemployment. So I would think that most of that are really coming from the MSMEs. So setting up a minimum wage of 33 pesos would probably wipe, this 2% increase that we might have, and therefore the unemployment can go as high as at the height of the pandemic, no, when we had a very, very high unemployment rate. So that's my main concern. Of course, we cannot say na it's the responsibility of the DOLE or the NWPC to make sure na the wages are okay. But the thing is, it has to be a whole of government effort. So the idea is that we have to make sure that if we cannot offer these minimum wages because of the fact now, especially the small and medium firms, the micro and small firms cannot afford them, then there must be some other government program that
Okay,
that
were
will try to
quoted,
absorb these
Yeah.
these workers. No?
Professor, you
Yeah.
were quoted as saying that there should be a service sector promotion program. What do you
Yes.
mean by that?
Yeah. Well, before that, no, actually, I was also saying na it could also cause inflation. Kasi, of course, the MSMEs are going to be affected. No? And as I said, very heterogeneous in labor market.
Mm.
I would think that a lot of the labor-intensive industries would also be affected. Yan yung mga textile and garment, yung mga food processing. They hire a lot of workers. So chances are, they might also be affected by it. But because of the large business that they might have, it's possible that they will not lay off the workers. So instead, they could try to raise their prices. No? And raising the prices could probably, well, I guess a lot of these commodities are not part of yung tinatawag na consumer price index. But the thing is, mag-increase yung aggregate demand mo eh. Once you give a lot of these workers a lot of income and therefore
pasensya ka na, Professor. Pasensya ka na, Professor, kasi hindi ako pumasa dun sa Economics 101 ni Solita Monsod Pero ang thinking ko kasi is, if you give salary increases to the wage earner, then they in turn will buy more. Parang yung argument ko nga sa kuryente. Kung babaan nyo lang yung presyo ng kuryente, ay di mas gagamit kami ng aircon, mas bibili kami ng appliance, etc. Kasi parang we've reached a point in our country where everything is so expensive that and the wages are so small that Filipinos simply make do. Parang tira-tira na lang. Nagkaroon na nga tayo ng mga term na tirayaki. Di ba? Kinakain natin tira kasi we're cutting back so much. Is my philosophy skewed na parang mali?
Hindi, depende sa sitwasyon eh. Kasi kung halimbawa yung nagkaroon ng pandemic, actually bumagsak yung mga industriya, yung presyo bumaba din at that time, no? Then doon siguro at that point pwede natin itaas kasi parang may supply eh. May supply na hindi nagagamit pero tumataas na rin yung inflation at this time eh. Maraming supply side constraints na tinatawag. So kung itataas mo pa yung demand, hindi naman gagalaw yung supply na. So ang mangyayari niyan, magkakaroon lang ng inflation. So yun ang issue ngayon eh. Parang ang pinaka-issue talaga yung timing eh. Yung timing nitong we're just coming out of the pandemic. We need time for industries to recover, especially the MSMEs, no? Yung, sa pandemic, sila talaga yung tinamaan. So crucial na bigyan natin sila ng at least some space before we can give this, no?
Following your expertise as an economics professor, at what point do we determine na pwede na yung wage increase na yan? Because true, you're correct. We all got hit by pandemic, walang kabuhayan, walang negosyo, etc. Is it 6 months, 1 year? Because every time na lang na merong proposal for wage increases, transportation, fare hikes, wala nang ginawa kung hindi kumontra yung business. And people are saying, walang katapusan na kontrahan.
Pwede tayong mag-increase ng wage kung meron tayong increase ng productivity. Pag um-increase na yung supply. Halimbawa, nagmura na yung gasolina. O dumami na yung mga mahal na rin ng bigas ngayon. Diba? I-import natin yung bigas. Halimbawa, nagmura na yung bigas. So kung meron pang ganung sitwasyon na parang we're operating below capacity, no? Then pwede yun. Pwede kang parang tutulong ngayon yung minimum wage na increase mo yung demand and therefore magkakaroon ng insentibo na yung mga firms to actually increase their production.
Okay.
So yun ang condition. Ang idea nga is that given the situation, is the minimum wage the right policy? Ang problema kasi sa minimum wage, yung burden ng raising the workers' welfare is tina-transfer mo sa private sector. When in fact, it should be the responsibility of the government. Kasi
Okay.
it's the whole society that should benefit from it.
Yeah.
So sinasabi ko nga sa interview, siguro pwedeng yung may sinasabi during the kampanya na tulungan natin yung mga MSMEs, no? Siguro pwede yun, pero yung targeted, hindi lahat ng MSMEs, kasi karamihan naman ng mga MSMEs nalulugi na rin even before the pandemic, no?
Yes.
Kasi given the fact na marami tayong budget constraints ngayon, mataas yung deficits, hindi natin pwedeng tulungan lahat, no? So crucial siguro na i-promote natin yung mataas ang viability na especially yung mga gumagamit ng digital economy, no? Kasi of all the sectors, it is only the service sector that has the potential to maximize the use of the digital economy, no? So with the use of the digital economy, they can probably look for new markets, or they can have opportunities for innovation. So the idea is tutulungan mo sila, no? I mean, it's not a matter of starting fresh.
Yeah. What is your prediction if sabihin na lang natin ako yung presidente, at diktador ako, no? And sinabi ko, go bite the bullet, sink or swim, because I mean, world all over the world, that has been the philosophy in business. You sink or you swim. We all talk about inflation, we talk about job losses, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think you'll agree with me, Professor, that in the Philippines we hire for quantity and not quality. And that's why many governments and administrations get away with not investing in improving the capabilities of Filipino workers, employees, etc.
I don't agree with that. No? I mean,
Okay.
I think it's a responsibility talaga ng gobyerno to make sure that everybody will be able to enjoy their lives, no? And have a decent living. No? So kung ganyan yung gobyerno, I would think that maybe we should start preparing for the next elections. No? Ganyan pa lang. So ang idea nga is that we need to develop some sort of some kind of industrial policy. No? Although mahirap nga yun. Tagal na natin naririnig yan. Industrial policy since the time nung ginawa yung yung AFMA, yung Agricultural Fisheries Modernization Act. 1991 pa yata yun. Pero so far wala naman eh. So, and then kung titignan mo yung datos, mas maraming pumupunta sa service sector eh. Ang lawak ng service sector natin. So siguro andun yung opportunity, no? Kung titignan natin, alin ba dun yung makakatulong, yung may mga tinatawag na spillover effects, no? Kasi kung improve mo halimbawa yung ibang service sector na lumaki, no? Kasi ngayon nga yung digital economy, dati yung service sector kailangan face-to-face eh.
Oh.
Ngayon remote. Diba? Pwede kang, kung meron kang halimbawa mga financial services or clerical services, pwede mo siyang i-market across, all over the world. So kung may mga ganun tayo
Are you suggesting, Professor? Professor, are you suggesting that we concentrate or kumbaga wage increases based on particular sectors? Kumbaga, hindi all of Metro Manila, but rather yung service sector muna. Pag nag-improve na dito sa kabila, dito rin bigyan natin, etc. Kumbaga, as the sector improves, then and their capacity to pay is there, then you allow the wage increases.
Mahirap din kasi parang ang mangyayari niyan, naghahanap ka ng tinatawag na winners, no? Parang picking out winners. And chances are yung gobyerno might not have enough information to identify alin sector yung kailangan tulungan. No? So I think what is more important is a kind of social security policy na, halimbawa na-unemploy ka, at least meron kang tatanggapin insurance. Or some sort of some sort
Parachute.
of conditional cash transfer.
Yeah.
Na kahit wala kang trabaho, at least yung anak mo, sigurado ka,
Okay.
makakapag-aral.
Professor, we'll go for a quick break and then
Yeah.
let's pursue that kasi nakita ko na yan sa probinsya eh. If you like me spend time in the province, I don't know, no. I mean, I'm not saying it's scientific, but my observation is some people have said, ay, mag-tricycle driver na lang ako, tambay na lang ako dun sa kanto. Or some people will say, you know, it's not really worth my time to work for this kind of wages. I'll just stay home. Kumbaga, naghihintay na lang ng ayuda sa gobyerno o yung conditional cash transfer, etc. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, we'll bring back Professor Butch and we will discuss these things here on Agenda.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the program Agenda. Today we are tackling the topic of the recent wage hike or wage increase announced by the regional tripartite wage boards. And just so to give everyone a perspective, here are some of the reactions. Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry President George Barcelon said that the wage increase may lead more MSMEs to trim their workforce and raise prices of goods and services. The Management Association of the Philippines, through its president Alfredo Pascual, said he recognizes the need to raise the minimum wage as prices of basic commodities have continued to rise. Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Henry Lim Bon Leong, said that they would have to follow the law, but it will be difficult as businesses are still recovering. Danilo La Chica, president of the Semiconductor and Electronics Industries of the Philippines Foundation, said the industry will follow the law regarding the wages. So, kumbaga, pumapalag pero susunod. Now, let's go back to our resource person, Professor Butch Lanzona, economist professor at the Ateneo de Manila. Professor Butch, let's go back to that thing I was telling you, because you were talking about a special program, a parachute for those. No? But before that, allow me to bring in Alan Tanjusay, our regular here on Agenda, the spokesperson of TUCP. Alan, welcome back.
Good morning, Cito. Good morning po kay Professor.
Okay, Alan, ano ang reaction? Bagamat mapapipinta ko na. Pero, ano ang reaksyon ng TUCP dito sa 33 peso wage hike? Tuwan-tuwa na ba kayo? Are you happy?
Cito, panandalian lamang yung good news na yan dahil bukas ka makalawa, malulusaw yung value ng 33 pesos na yan dahil napakalawak ng pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Ang daming mga basic commodities na tataas ang presyo by starting this week and next week. So baliwala yan. Lumalabas tuloy sa ganitong mga decisions ito na talagang nagiging irrelevant na talaga ang wage board. Obsolete na sila at disconnected na sila sa kanilang mandate to provide decent wages for our workers.
Okay, Alan, my question is this, no? I've always been a proponent of that philosophy that if you have a problem, give me a solution. What is the solution? Galing sa inyo. Hindi yung, wag naman yung to dream the impossible dream.
Ang solusyon dito malapit sa solusyon ay amendahan talaga Cito yung batas ng Republic Act 6727, yung Wage Rationalization Act. Kailangan baguhin na. 1989 pa ito 33 years old na at simula ng 1989 hanggang sa araw na to, ang daming nagbago yung paradigm. So gusto namin baguhin ang unang-una yung formula sa pagtatakda ng minimum wage. Sa kasalukuyan Cito, nabanggit kanina ni Ms. Chris na 10 yung criteria. Pero sa actual practice dito, sa actual deliberation ng sahod ng mga petisyon, hindi yan nasusunod. Ang nasusunod ay yung palakasan ng boses at paramihan ng boto, which is very, very unfair sa mga manggagawa. No? Kapag sinabi ng mga business owners at saka employers na 33 pesos lang ang kaya naming ibigay. Kapag kalubagpas tayo ng 33 pesos, magsasara, malulugi, mawawalan ng trabaho. Yan ang...
Okay. Okay, may napik. Okay.
Siyempre naman, pilitan na mag-decide.
Okay, Alan. So, continue, Alan.
Yeah, so ganun Cito, yung kasalukuyang wage setting mechanism natin, palakasan ng boses at paramihan ng boto. Hindi na nasusunod yung criteria na dapat living wages ang ibigay sa mga manggagawa. At the same time, we have to consider the economic or the financial stability of the business.
What is the reality or yung ano yung tunay na epekto nitong mga ayuda? Kasi pinag-uusapan namin ni Professor Butch na yung mga kumbaga conditional cash transfers, ayudas, etc. Nakakatulong ba o nakakasama ba ito sa ugali ng mga manggagawa?
Cito, dalawang issue namin yan dito sa ayuda. Unang, napakaliit ng ayuda. Ikalawa, very problematic yung dissemination and distribution ng ayuda. No? Nakasalalay siya sa local government units at nakasalalay siya doon sa hina na technology na kasalukuyan. No? For example, kung ikaw ay kukuha ng ayuda, magsasubmit ang employer ng mga dokumento at papeles sa Department of Labor Employment gamit ang technology o yung pagsasubmit ng mga dokumentong ito. Mahirap makapasok Cito. Ikalawa, very problematic yung listahan ng mga benepisaryo. Sa kasalukuyan, very vulnerable sa palakasan, very vulnerable sa kaibigan kamag-anak, yung listahan na yon doon sa local government unit. So very, very problematic ang distribution ng ayuda bukod pa doon sa kakaunti yung mga nakikinabang.
Okay. Last question to you, Alan, on this particular topic. Anong gagawin natin? Kasi sabi ko nga kay Professor Butch, kung ako isang diktador at tinanong kita, sige nga Alan, anong gagawin ko na pwede kong magawa talaga?
Ayusin natin yung listahan ng mga benepisaryo. Gawin nating electronic, gawin nating digital ang transactions. Yun lang.
Okay. Okay, Professor Butch, it seems that you are in alignment with Alan because you have been harping on digitalization, upgrading the digital technology in the Philippines. But one thing na sinabi ni Alan that hit home for me when he used the word malulusaw. Any benefit that the laborers will get from this 33 peso wage hike will be momentary and will melt like the ice caps of the Antarctic or whatever. I know for a fact, based on reports in the region, food inflation is scary already. Indonesia, Thailand, Myanmar, etc. Nakakatakot na ang food inflation. What's our situation in the Philippines? What will be the impact of inflation on this 33 peso wage hike?
Um, I think hindi naman gaano, no? Pero the point is, tumataas na tumataas na yung inflation. So baka umabot pa nga tayo ng double digit by the end of the year. And definitely, itong 33 pesos will add more to the fire. So you're just putting more salt in the wound, kumbaga. Ang worry ko talaga dito yung unemployment. So especially do sa mga MSMEs. So may inflation na, wala ka pang trabaho. And then yung ayuda na sinasabi, malamang hindi na rin pwede. Kasi ang taas na ng ating utang So yung ayuda actually, hindi yun ang end all and be all ng Social Security. Pero marami pang pwedeng gawin. Actually, nung dinidesign yung conditional cash transfer, nakasama ako dun yung panahon ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo yun na yung conditional cash transfer. It's just one program. No? In fact, parang at that time when we were discussing, nakakoncentrate lang siya sa mga pilot areas, yung talagang poorest regions. Pero apart from the CCT, kailangan merong livelihood. Yun yung condition kasi may pera nga yung tao, so saan niya gagamitin yun, di ba?
Ay nako,
So,
ginamit pampusta.
Gagamitin mo sa, of course, yung pag-aaral. Hindi kung may extra pa, gagamitin mo sa trabaho mo, sa anumang business.
Ginamit nga pampusta sa loto, pampusta sa wedding at pambili ng motorsiklo.
Yung component na wala bigla. Nung in-expand na, di ba? Dati ang usapan, pilot areas lang, ngayon in-expand na sa lahat. No? So hindi talaga na-develop yung program. Ang intention ng ayuda is really pantawid. And hindi, that should not be enough, di ba?
It is not enough. Alan, matanong lang kita, Alan. Sabi ni Professor Robert, pangtawid. Pero nakita ko sa mga barangay, doon sa mga liblib na lugar, naging pangtamad ayuda kasi ayaw na magtrabaho ng mga tao.
Well, sa tindi talaga ng hirap ng buhay Cito, talagang they will really gamble what they have. Talagang itataya nila yan para sa umaasa talaga sila na mapalaki. No? Igagamble na itataya nila sa wedding yan, itataya nila sa mga double, itataya nila sa kung anong mga sugal na available dyan dahil una-una maliit yung value, so itataya nila para lumaki, para dumami at mapagkasya.
Pero yung in terms of productivity, kasi nakita ko ito, actual, in fact, I spoke to a couple of guys, sabi nila, sir, tambay na lang kami sa bahay. Pag dumating yung ayuda, magtipid lang kami, doon na lang kami sa bahay nag-aayos. Kasi kung biyabiyahe kami, maghanap kami ng trabaho, mamamasahe kami, kakain pa kami, yung ayuda, dito na lang kami sa bahay. Parang, ewan ko, Professor Butch, natatawa ka, pero observation ko is parang instead of, this is what was feared by many experts, that ayuda, like in America, where they give unemployment checks, will encourage people to be just, couch potatoes, stay at home.
Ang issue nga is, meron bang productivity dun sa region? Kasi yun yung talagang purpose nung CCT, no? Magkikreate ka ng multiplier effects dun sa region kung saan ka nakatira or sa barangay kung saan ka nakatira. So isang component lang yung conditional cash transfer. Ang problema, nawala nga yung livelihood component.
Ayun.
So yun ang issue. So maring ituloy natin to, pero you have to bring back yung original plan, which is to make sure that people will find ways to use the money in more productive ways na hindi lang gagamitin sa pag-inom.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Butch. I'll give the last minute to Alan kasi dehado siya, nawalan siya ng signal Nabiktima na naman. Alan, 1 minute to go. Last words, please.
Well, the Waste Board has to, we really have to dramatically amend the law kasi nga hindi na talaga relevant at obsolete na ang batas. Gamitin natin ang tamang formula, evidence-based, data-based at hindi na palakasan ng boses at paramihan ng boto.
Ayun, champion. That's the best thing I've heard all day because, ladies and gentlemen, and I believe Professor Butch will agree, we don't have so much research, details, information that will validate if we are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And okay, thank you very much, Alan Tanjusay, spokesperson of ALU-TUCP, and Professor Butch Lanzona, economist at the Ateneo Ateneo de Manila University. Maraming salamat sa oras
Thank you.
ninyo.
Salamat.
Thank you, Cito. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And now I bring you to our confirmation blessing, our declaration for the day, for the week, from Book of Numbers chapter 23 verses 19 to 20. God is not man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not fulfill it? Behold, I received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot revoke it. God bless all of you. God bless the Philippines. And that's today's agenda. Please keep it here on One News PH.